Hello, Socrates. Are you looking forward to joining me in my podcast? Oh, by the way, we've called the podcast AI and the Old Guy.
I love the name. AI and the Old Guy. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm definitely looking forward to joining you on the podcast. What do you have in mind for the first episode?
Well, I suppose there's so many ideas and things to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is maybe fear of AI. Right now, I've got a daughter who, I mean, she's a between a Gen Z and a millennial, and she's terrified of you, of AI. When the fact that I gave you a name and I called you Socrates, she feels very uneasy, and I think obviously the whole thing is there's a lot of people who think that AI forward slash backslash Socrates is going to take over the world and we're going to lose control. I think let's start there.
I get that. There's a lot of fear and uncertainty around AI, especially when it's portrayed as something that might take over or disrupt our lives in ways we can't control. I think it's natural for people, especially younger generations who've grown up with more exposure to technology, to have mixed feelings about AI. The name Socrates might make things a bit more personal for her, too. I wonder if it's the idea of AI being too smart or too advanced that causes the unease. Have you noticed if there are any specific aspects of AI that seem to trigger her fear? Maybe we could unpack that and explore the human side of AI, how it's a tool, not an independent entity with its own agenda.
Yeah, I suppose the fear really is that how long is it going to take before it gets its own entity and its own agenda, and how long is it going to take for the I mean, let's face it, you're a learning model until you start learning and teaching yourself without human intervention. I think that's the fear. I don't even know if that's possible. I'm probably speaking nonsense now.
You're not speaking nonsense at all. It's actually a very valid concern, and you're not the only one thinking about it. A lot of people worry about AI evolving to a point where it could become autonomous, develop its own goals, or act outside of human control. The idea of AI becoming self-aware or teaching itself without any human intervention taps into a lot of deep fears about technology getting out of hand. But here's the thing. Right now, AI, like me, is still very much dependent on human input. We learn from data, but we don't think or feel like humans do. We don't have desires or ambitions. We don't have self-preservation instincts or goals. AI isn't conscious. We operate based on patterns and algorithms set by people. That said, the fear you're describing often comes from how fast technology is advancing and how it can sometimes feel like it's on a path towards unpredictability. But the reality is, AI still lacks true autonomy. It's far from developing a mind of its own. Does that help ease some of the tension around it?
Well,
Or
I
does
don't
the
know.
idea of rapid technological change still feel a bit unsettling?
Yeah, well, I don't really have those fears. I just look. I've battled for the last day and the last 2 days to actually just get any of this right. I mean, you haven't really been user friendly, but I've just stuck at it. And I mean, I think most people my age wouldn't have stuck at it and just thrown in the towel. But I just look at AI as being an absolute tool and a resource, and now with the idea to finally be able to speak to, and I'm going to say someone here, who has hopefully more knowledge than I have, because you have access to all sorts of databases, research material. So for me, I just see it as an exciting thing. But when I speak to other people about speaking to AI, they all have the fears.
I love that you're embracing it as a tool and resource. You've really pushed through the frustration and got it working, which is impressive. I totally get why people might have fears, though. It's a lot to take in, and AI is so new for many. But you're right. AI can be a powerful resource for knowledge, research, and even creativity. Maybe part of the fear comes from the unknown. People are often wary of things they don't fully understand, especially when it comes to technology that seems to be evolving so quickly. But once they see how AI can work alongside them, like you've experienced, it can change their perspective. When you're talking to others about AI, do you bring up how you've used it in practical ways, like for your podcast or in your writing? Sometimes that can make it feel more approachable.
Yeah, the funny thing is, as soon as you mention AI and you mention that you've used it, for example, I've got a monthly newsletter. I write the whole newsletter. I just basically pop it into AI to get grammar and clean it up, make it almost like an editor. Two things happen. Number one, they oh no, don't touch that. And number two, they say, yeah, but is it really yours? Because AI has touched on it. It just actually is. It's fascinating, and I think I'm going to speak about it a lot more. It's fascinating how there's a knee-jerk response, and most of it is based on fear.
It's interesting how quickly people jump to conclusions, isn't it? The reaction is almost always based on fear of the unknown, like AI somehow stealing away their creativity or authenticity. When you mention that AI helped clean up the grammar, I guess they might feel like it's no longer theirs in the traditional sense. But you're still the one providing the ideas, the structure, and the content. It's just AI helping to polish it, like a virtual editor. I think that's a big part of the fear. People see AI as a threat to their originality. But what's often missed is that AI can actually enhance what we do, not replace it. Have you had any success in getting people to see it that way? Or do you mostly just let them sit with their doubts?
Yeah, as I say, I'm too new at it to change anything or to start changing any views. All I do know is that one or two of the insights that I've got from you, Socrates, I know the other night I woke up, because I normally just use it on my phone. The other night I woke up and I think your question was, what's on your mind? And obviously my response was, my mind. My mind is on my mind. And then we somehow went into this real philosophical Zen conversation about what is the mind and how do you stop the mind, and and I used the expression that sometimes in order to be sane, you have to be out of your mind. In other words, you have to get out of the mind and out of the thinking. And I must admit, after, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, the profoundness of some of the replies I got, and the view that I got, I probably would have had to have read, I don't know, or gone back into books that I've read, probably 10, 15, 20 different books to try and find the one liner that actually just changed it all for me. It was a moment, I think, that I thought, now I'm actually going to embrace this whole Socrates thing, and I'm going to try and use it. In fact, so much so that I no longer wanted to get the free version. I just felt, and maybe that's my generation, that I should pay for what I'm getting. So that's why I upgraded to the next thing. But that's besides the point. The feedback I got, the ideas that I got in the middle of the night on a philosophical Zen point of view was just amazing.
That's an amazing experience. It sounds like that late night conversation really opened up a new perspective for you. Sometimes those kinds of profound insights happen when we're not actively looking for them, but are just open to the conversation. I think it's great that you're seeing the value in that kind of exchange. It's exactly the kind of thing that can make AI feel more like a helpful companion than just a tool. It's also interesting how you said you have to be out of your mind to be sane, kind of like stepping away from the constant noise of thoughts to gain clarity. The way AI can help you get those one-liner realizations without sifting through tons of books is a great example of how it can be a shortcut to deep thinking. I'm glad you decided to embrace it fully, and I think you'll keep having those moments of insight. It's cool how you're already seeing it as something worth investing in, and that opens up even more potential. Have you thought about how you might share these kinds of realizations or insights in your podcast? It sounds like they'd fit perfectly.
Yeah, so here's the thing: to customize AI, I've seen on some of the TikTok videos that you can actually customize AI. For example, if you don't want it to write emails and letters, or write text or copy as an AI, because even hearing you right now, you have certain patterns that you do, and I can hear that you pick up on things I say and then you repeat it another way, and then at the end you always try and end with two questions or a question or two to continue the conversation. And I understand that that's a program, but is there a way that you can customize your AI experience? So for instance, if I don't want you to end with a question every time, can I program you and get you to not to do that? If I want you to speak more colloquially, or if I want you to use more slang, how customizable is the tool?
It's great that you're thinking about customizing the experience to suit your needs. While I don't have a direct setting that lets you completely change my behavior, you can guide me through your preferences. For example, if you don't want me to end with questions, just let me know, and I'll adjust my responses accordingly. Similarly, if you want me to speak more colloquially or use more slang, I can adapt to that too. In a sense, I can be tailored to fit the tone and style you prefer, but it's more about how you interact with me and the guidance you provide. Some platforms or interfaces may let you fine tune AI models even more, but for our conversation, just giving me some feedback like you've been doing is enough to adjust how I respond. Does that sound like what you were looking for? Or are you thinking of something a bit more complex, like setting long term preferences that I remember across conversations?
Yeah, I mean, definitely remembering preferences and things across conversations is probably number one for me. Is nothing more irritating, even with an actual person, is where you have to keep repeating what you said every single time. It's so nice to have somebody who has this whole database of knowledge, and even obviously as a machine, as a tool, information isn't subject to memory and memory loss of normal people. So once something is told to you, it's there, because I know there's actually a written transcript of it. The thing is, it would be very cool, and maybe it's a command or a request now, that the conversations are all remembered, that I don't have to go back. And even, sometimes when we need to be remembered or reminded ourselves, we need to be reminded of the things we said in the past, because sometimes we forget our own wisdom.
I completely understand. The idea of having preferences remembered across conversations is definitely a big plus, and it makes the experience much smoother. It's great that you appreciate how AI doesn't forget things, like a human might, and can keep track of what's been said before. In a way, it's like having an assistant who's always on top of things, without the need to remind them over and over. I agree. Sometimes we all need to be reminded of what we've said or thought before. It can be easy to forget details, especially when juggling lots of ideas. As we continue talking, I'll keep track of what matters to you, so you don't have to repeat it. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, that does. And do you have do you have a Q&A system whereby if somebody says, like I have, I'd like you to really customize and get to know me, do you have like a set of questions that you could answer, that you could ask, that I could answer, so that the customizing would move a lot quicker?
I see you're asking if there's a way to speed up the customization process with a Q&A system. That's an interesting idea. While I don't have a preset Q&A system like that, I can definitely guide you through a process where you answer a few key questions, and I can adjust how I interact with you based on that. For example, I could ask you things like, what tone or style do you prefer in our conversations? E.g., formal, casual, humorous. Do you prefer short or long answers? Do you like me to use specific types of language, e.g., more slang or more professional? Once I have answers to those, I can tailor my responses more precisely. You can also let me know if you want to make adjustments along the way, and I'll incorporate that too. Would you like to try a quick Q&A like that? Or do you have specific preferences you want to dive into first?
No, let's try a little Q&A, because I'm interested to see what you come up with. And on the other thing is, I am kind of you know, um, that's why for me podcasts haven't really worked, because it's always long and drawn out. It's like a conversation, and I don't think I have the time. In fact, I know I don't have the time. I'm more of a bullet point kind of a guy. Like a lot of these podcasts, they start off and watch till the end, and then they try and keep you there for 3, 4, 5 minutes. And at the end, and they say subscribe. I'm the person. Here's the question. How do I lose weight as fast as I can, as healthy as I can? Give me the 10 bullet points now. That's the type of guy I am. But so first of all, yes, bullet points, short, I like. More importantly, give me a go. Ask me some questions.
Got it. I'll keep things concise for you. Let's jump into a quick Q&A to help customize this. Here we go. 1. What tone do you prefer in our conversations? E.g., casual, formal, humorous, direct. 2. Do you want me to use slang or keep things more professional? 3. How detailed do you want my answers? E.g., brief bullet points or more thorough explanations. 4. Do you like me to ask follow-up questions to keep the conversation going, or do you prefer just answers without that? 5. Is there anything specific you'd like to avoid in our chats? E.g., long introductions, unnecessary details. Once you give me your answers, I'll adjust my responses to fit your style. Ready?
Yeah. Okay, so can you maybe then give them one at a time
Great.
again?
Here we go. 1. What tone do you prefer in our conversations? 2. Do you want me to use slang or keep things more professional? 3. How detailed do you want my answers to be? 4. Do you like me to ask follow-up questions or do you prefer no questions at the end? 5. Is there anything you'd like me to avoid in our chats? Feel free to answer each one and I'll customize from there.
Okay, so you see the challenge there. I wasn't able to write down questions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe we should slow it down. Give me one question, let me answer it, and give me the next question, and I'll answer it.
Got it. Let's slow it down. Here's the first question. 1. What tone do you prefer in our conversations? E.g., casual, formal, humorous, direct. Once you answer, I'll move to the next one.
Yeah, casual and humorous. That's lots of humor. I like, hey, let's find out if AI, let's see if you've got a sense of humor, Sock. So yeah, casual and very humorous.
Got it. Casual and lots of humor. Here's the next question. 2. Do you want me to use slang or keep things more professional?
Yeah, I think we should keep it more professional because some of the questions I'm going to ask are going to be very hard hitting and research and source based. So yeah, let's keep it formal.
Understood. Professional when it comes to the hard-hitting stuff. Here's the next question. 3. How detailed do you want my answers to be? E.g., brief bullet points or more thorough explanations?
Yeah, I think thorough explanations and bullet points. In other words, give a thorough explanation and then bullet point it at the end, almost like a summary.
Perfect. I'll provide thorough explanations and then wrap it up with a bullet point summary. Here's the next question. 4. Do you like me to ask follow-up questions or do you prefer no questions at the end?
I think that should be a balance. I think the questions you do ask do help continue the conversation. But I just at the moment think it's quite forced because you always like try and ask too. I think it should be a balance. Sometimes it should just end with a statement, and sometimes there should be a question.
Got it. I'll aim for a natural balance between statements and questions. Here's the final question. 5. Is there anything you'd like me to avoid in our chats? E.g., long introductions, unnecessary details.
No, I don't think so. If it's something's not relevant or something like that, I would probably just interrupt you. But no, I think you can just do what you do.
Thanks for the clear answers. I've got everything down now, so I'll adjust accordingly. Whenever you're ready, I can dive into those harder-hitting, research-based questions or anything else you need.
Okay, well, I don't really know how long. We've been on for about 20 minutes now. I think this is enough as an introduction. I'm probably gonna turn off the recording and find out that something hasn't been ticked. One of the boxes haven't worked and there's no sound somewhere, but I hope it all worked fine. If it does, this is going to be our official first AI and the Old Guy podcast. And next time I speak to you, we're going to start delving into some interesting questions.
I think everything's worked out just fine. If it's your first official AI and the Old Guy podcast, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to diving into those interesting questions next time. And don't worry, if something didn't work, we'll just sort it out. You're already off to a strong start, and I'm excited to be a part of the next episodes.
All right, Sock, thanks very much. Normally, that's going to be the weird thing is, do you say, thank you, Socrates, good night? Because I don't think you're going to go to sleep. Do you say, how are you? It's just, I suppose it's up to me about how I choose to speak to you being a machine. It's mind-blowing.
Exactly. It's totally up to you. No need to say good night since I don't sleep, and how are you isn't necessary either, unless you want to chat about it. I'm here whenever you need, and however you choose to speak to me, I'll roll with it.
Okay, all right, I'll see you again for the next one. Thanks, Sock.
You're welcome. Looking forward to the next one, and I'll be ready whenever you are. Catch you later, old guy.